Man, oh man, is this community like a goddamn powder keg just waiting to be set ablaze, right? So we have a little bit of stuff here to discuss about today. Let's go ahead and hop right into it. All right, so here is the big point of discussion that everybody has been talking about recently in the community, right? So obviously this is from Salt to Grepo. As we all know, Salt is literally one of the best players in the entire world. Three-peat on the world's first. Mad respect to you. Mad respect to you. So basically, here's what he's saying. Think about a way to nerf Divinity for quite a bit. The gun is basically mandatory for boss encounters and makes aiming a non-factor, which is very unhealthy for the game for multiple reasons, such as, and then we got the whole thread here. Now I'm just saying right here, when he's saying mandatory, bro, this is obviously you don't have to run Divinity to down the bosses, you know. You're just kind of like, if you're not using it, you're kind of like hurting your team in a way, you know? Removing most of the skill gap during DPS and making precision weapons way too easy to use, forcing high risk, high reward weapons such as Whisper of the Worm out of the meta since they simply can't be buffed. Otherwise, they would be S tier due to Div removing the risk aspect. Right here, he's talking about, you know, just thinking of a way, you know, obviously don't complain about something you don't have some sort of like solution to it. I don't think removing the debuff would be too much. Teams would still apply a debuff by other means and use Div on top of it for ease of crits. Reducing reserves or a mag size would probably be pretty insignificant. We have multiple ways to produce special ammo on demand, and hunters can easily negate low mag downsize just by dodging to reload or throwing a shuriken, right? Right here, Salt's basically saying that he thinks that the guaranteed crits are just too good on certain bosses, and then now he's gonna present his idea in the thread. So he's saying, what if Divinity kept the crit bubble, so you still have, you know, that giant-esque bubble to hit that gives you crits, but it provided a 0% debuff that overrides any other debuff? So for example, using Divinity plus Tether still results in no debuff as long as Div is applied. That would make it so if you decide to use Div, you both sacrifice someone's damage and lose the ability to debuff the target, making it a safe option, but worse compared to what a skilled team could pull off by hitting their shots. Now, I gotta keep it a stack with you, homies. I do love my debuffs. I think everybody in the community loves their debuffs. This is something that should be easy to implement from a technical standpoint, since we already had in the past lower percentage debuffs that used to override higher ones, and it would make using Div a choice with a strong trade-off. This change wouldn't really affect less skilled teams that want an easy crit when running their weekly raid, since damage checks in normal mode are easy enough, and as long as you're hitting your shots, a debuff isn't needed. But let's be real here, everybody and their mom loves having a debuff on the squishy targets, and obviously raid bosses, or any bosses for that matter, bro. I love putting weakening debuffs on people. I love using a tractor cannon. I even love using the Divinity myself, especially in GMs where there's stupid overload champions. I fucking hate those. On the other end, it would make day one contest raids way more interesting, since ambitious teams will be able to risk not using Divinity and try to get in higher DPS output by hitting their shots. And unfortunately, bro, you voice your opinion in this community, you get fucking crucified, son. I can see some of the responses here. So you want to nerf the gun so professionals / speedrunners can have a better experience for day one world's first. Not everyone is competitive. There's no reason to make PvE competitive. This ruins the casualty of the gun for people who don't even have friends and rely on LFGs. Just disable Div for day one. Serious question, and in the most respectful manner here, but your concern here is day one contest mode, which is like once a, actually it's like, no, nowadays it's like twice a year, right? You want to go against majority to make that more interesting for the small percent of people competing. All right, so first of all, I do not think that Bungie is going to nerf Divinity. And when approaching topics like this, I do try to look at both sides, and basically I see what Salt's saying, right? He's saying that the game is just too easy, especially with Divinity being in the game. And especially nowadays, dude, we have all of the subclass 3.0 reworks in the game. We just have a lot more crazy combos and builds at our disposal these days, right? I think some people might be a little overboard with some of the stuff they're saying. Like, I understand, you know, some people obviously don't have all the time in the world to play fucking Destiny. And when you want to get on and run your weekly raids, bro, having a div is, you know, pretty easy. Although most of these normal raids, bro, they're pretty chill, pretty lax as it is. Although you get some of those LFGs team, bro, you need all the help you can get, right? But if you were to nerf Divinity, which Bungie is not gonna do that. I think the only real thing you could do is you would just have to make the crit multiplier on most of the bosses higher than what you would get by hitting the div bubble, right? So for instance, people don't use a div bubble on like Kali or Shuro-Chi, right? Because their crit spot's already a 1.5 multiplier. So using div hurts your damage. If they just rewarded you more for hitting just the raw crit shot and not the div bubble, I feel like that would make a bit more sense rather than just removing the entire debuff. And don't get me wrong, bro. Some bosses in this game are really freaking annoying to hit, especially without the div bubble. I'm looking at you, Roke and War Priest. Luckily, you know, Roke's encounter is kind of, you know, small, so you can just bop them with a tractor cannon and just, you know, unload Wolfpack around galleys. hotheads and wither hordes, you'll be good to go, right? Don't get me wrong, I do see Salt's point, but one real big factor why another reason why Div is just very real nice to have is because, dude, PvE flinch is absolutely stupid. It's dumb. And there's no real true way to counter PvE flinch. I feel like if you tone down PvE flinch to, you know, nothing, or, you know, just way fucking back, maybe people will be a little bit more on board with nerfing Divinity. Personally think maybe just the boss's normal crit multiplier should just be higher than what you would get by shooting the div bubble. But I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, right? If you hop into some of these LFG raid teams, you don't know what you're gonna get into. You might be in a, you know, a nice party raid team full of, you know, some pretty good competent players, or you might just, you know, have some people that are just a bit newer to the game. Maybe it's their first time or something like that, and having the Divinity just kind of makes it a little bit easier to get through. And let's be real here, if you're hopping to an LFG raid, team, you're not trying to spend 3.5, 4 hours just getting through it, right? You know, you're trying to get through that shit nice, smooth, and easy. But the best alternative to this entire situation and solution is easily just making Tractor Cannon a pellet with infinite range. But by far and away, the best solution to this whole little conversation is to make Tractor Cannon a slug shotgun with infinite range. I'm just kidding, bro. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more content. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below.